in terms of area of interest is very, very, very low. But as we go along, and hopefully before they go back during the debriefing meeting, probably we shall be able to outline, just an outline, the few areas where we would like, this conversation to continue.
Instead of going for 5, 6, 7 small little projects, I would try to find 1 or 2 that we can see are feasible, and then we can gradually expand into something broader and more ambitious.
If I'm writing Karango, for example, I can see whether Karango is here. The same Karango is on the screen. In the same way, the same screen could talk to him or her, telling him what's on the keyboard. So this person is going to access any website, write email, notes, transfer soft notes.
It's all a little different. Public is.
By the way, electric sorry. My name is
in Rwanda and in the rest of Rwanda. So right now we are in our territory principle. We ask you while doing presentation, I think you will double with also, welcoming the guest at this college, this campus of Rukara. Probably what I would recommend to add, even if it's not part of the program, if we can pass a quick round of introduction so that our guests can know who are in the room, but also members of the room also can know who constitutes the delegation of our guests. So I will start going this side. So I'm Papias M.Musafiri, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Institutional Development and Strategic Planning.
Yes, so I'm Florian Sanganwimana, acting principal for the College of Education.
I'm Innocent Twagimana. I'm Dean, School of Education.
I'm Javed, Professor and Chair of Computer Science Department at Kent State.
Lakhan Yadav, Director of African Center of Excellence for Innovative Teaching and Learning Mathematics and Science. Welcome.
Andre Mohirwa, Director of Teaching and Learning Enhancement.
Evarist Karangwa, Dean of School of Inclusive and Special Education.
Mugabe Wilson, Director of Administration and Human Resources, currently acting as the campus administrator.
Legal is called the advisor to the principal.
He is the longest IT officer of African Center for Excellence in Innovative Teaching, Learning, Mathematics and Science.
I'm Neil Cooper. I'm Director of the School of Peace and Conflict Studies at Kent State University.
I am Marcello Fantoni, and I am the Associate Provost in the Office of Global Education at Kent State University. Good morning, everybody.
Hello, I'm Sarah Schmidt. I'm the Administrator of Global Education, and I research peace education at Kent State University.
So for the protocol matters, it is Professor Marcello Fantoni, who is head of the delegation from Kent State University. So, Professor, you can proceed.
Thank you. So I think now we know each other. So all protocols observed. You are most welcome to this campus. And of course, we wish you a nice day. For the interest of time, I think I will be very quick. I think you already know that college education is one of the 6 colleges of University of Rwanda. And our specialization is to train teachers for secondary school, both the service teachers and the service teachers, where we run a number of continuous professional development in partnership with Ministry of Education and the Rwanda Education Board. We are operating on this campus. This is Rukara Campus, but also we run our program at Nyagatare and some in the Remark in Kigali, which is the headquarters of College of Medicine and Health Sciences. So as you have seen, we rest on a big land, about 28 hectares. So what maybe you have been able to see is the half of it, because we have the other part which is untouched behind down there. This is the structure of the school, the college. We have 2 schools. One school, which is the main one, School of Education, with 4 departments. Those 4 departments are known. And this Department of Humanities and Language Education. The third one is the Department of Early Childhood and Primary Education. And the fourth one is the Department of Foundation, Management, and Curriculum Studies. The second school is the School of Inclusive and Special Needs Education. So you've met the Dean Karango, who introduced us to the school and the resource room. Then the college also has academic unit or center which support the college to run different academic programs, starting, for instance, from the Center of African Center of Excellence for Innovative Teaching and Learning Mathematics and Science, which is led by Professor Yada. We have the Center for Open Distance and E-Learning, which is a cross-cutting center supporting all UR colleges in terms of implementing blended learning. We have the Center for Teaching and Learning Enhancement, where our programs are developed, and of course, where teaching and learning management activities are managed. We have the Directorate of Research and Innovation to support our lecturers to carry out research, but also postgraduate students. We have a Confucius Institute, that is the project that we co-run together with the Chinese government to promote Chinese language and culture. In the blue there, it is a center that is in the pipeline, a resource center for special needs administrative units. There are about 9 or 8. So campus administration, in charge of operation, whatever we do. Campus administration and human resource, campus finance, campus library services, career and employability, college registry. So all services you can see that that university provides are provided on campus. So we don't need to go to headquarters to carry out a service. Can you proceed? So our program, we have undergraduate program, and among undergraduate of diploma, where students come and do 2 years and get diploma that qualify them to teach in lower secondary. And then we have bachelor, which qualify students to teach. Our program, we have undergraduate program, and among undergraduate of diploma, where students come and do 2 years integrated diploma that qualify them to teach in lower secondary. And then we have bachelor, which qualify a student to teach the entire cycle of secondary education. We have postgraduate students in postgraduate certificates, masters and PhD. As you can see, a big number of students are still registered in the undergraduate program. Can you move to the next? So these are the different names of the program. I think you will not just read them out. Some of them will be in this program, or we shall see, yes, the names are being expired. So you keep it with you, and whenever you have to learn more, you have it. So can we go first? Yeah, you can go quick. So these are names of programs, especially there on this slide. These are names of continuous professional development programs. So we train teachers, but we know that they need to update their degrees in different areas. That's why we continue to work with MINEDIC and REP, which are government entities managing teachers, to work with them and see how we can, together with even private partners, run some program to update the skills of our teachers. So those two in the blue, 9 and 10, they are just a new program that we have validated recently, and of course we have started implementing them this year. Student welfare, of course, we take very much care of student life. That's why we have a directorate in charge of student welfare, but also we work with the student leadership. They have a great council with students in charge of advocating for student matters. Sport and culture, student clinic, we have a clinic, so to provide simple medical services, but we are not far from the district hospital, and whenever we have to transfer students, it is easy for that transfer to be done. Yeah, so and for students, of course, we have student restaurant here on campus, and we have a staff canteen that are available for both students and staff. Yeah, so the university, of course, is connected to the community, nearby community, but also beyond, based on where we can intervene effectively. We support vulnerable families. We teach them some literacy courses, writing, reading, and so on. And we happen to participate in the community work, our activities, and we deliver public talks about different themes. So currently we are running a number of projects. Just here we are putting a sample. The first project is the Leaders in Teaching, a LEAD initiative project, which is building the capacity of our academic staff to effectively train our pre-service teachers. Second is the Rwanda Quality-Based Education for Human Capital Development. That is a project in partnership with MINEDIC and REP, which is working on how to improve the quality of education in lower education, and how to improve learning efficiency and the learning outcome. Normally it is targeting on English proficiency and on STEM subjects. We are having partnership for enhanced blended learning, that is to promote blended learning in Rwanda but also in the region, because our team are developing modules that is serving Rwandan higher learning but also learning institution in the region. Yeah, that's it. We can move. Just these are examples. We have also adult literacy. This is part of community outreach where we we support our trainers, how to train people to improve their literacy in the rural area especially. Another project is the Mobile Arts for Peace project. That is an international collaboration. You can see that we participate in some Asian country in terms of mobile arts and for peace. We have also which one? The third one, Global Engagement Network Project on Breeding Cultures for Peace in Rwandan Schools. So we are working with Aegis Trust, and we have a program to train pre-service teachers and service teachers. Yeah, just these are some of the highlights. So on top of normal business of teaching and learning campus, also we collaborate with both government, public and private stakeholders in education, so that we can make an impact in solving societal problems. Yeah, thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Mobile Arts for Peace project, and also the Global Engagement Network project on building cultures of peace, and how you kind of implement those two programs, and particularly the second one on building cultures of peace in schools.
Unfortunately, we didn't invite the project investigator, but what we are doing, for instance, especially for schools, reading peace education among students and among teachers and even among lecturers. We develop a training program that are periodic, that target, of course, new teachers, new students. Training are in the cohort. So whoever has been trained has a mission also to disseminate the program, and whoever is new, of course, they are trained. So these are simple training program, but also they are developing continuous professional development, which will end up by a certificate. Someone who has followed will just get a certificate. And there are some activities that they are running together, like a field trip, tour visit. We can visit one of those countries. They are using case study to run this program.
So it prompts two thoughts for me, because as I mentioned, I'm director of our School of Peace and Conflict Studies, and we're developing a new master's program, and one of the courses in that program will be on peace education. And part of what we've been thinking about is providing students with an opportunity to do a placement in local schools. But one thought that occurs is that there may be an opportunity for them to do study visits over here, and to experience what the kind of work that you're doing.
So, in the current, in USA and everywhere, there's significant emphasis in providing digital skill to the new generation. Yeah, and including the US systems, it's quite behind. So I would like to know a little bit that which unit, you have the four departments here. So is there any, which units are responsible for digital skill education? So there are multifaceted problems. First is the curriculum itself is not there in up to the standard for in the high school in many places of the world, not only Rwanda, I'm saying, okay. And then the teachers are also need to be trained how to basic programming is being introduced in high school and middle schools. So these two aspects, teachers training, curriculum in terms of digital skill, and the other aspect is, I think, blended learning or online learning, the modern new media learning skills for the teachers. So these are increasingly important to introduce to the new generation. So which units or what relevant activities are here? Okay.
Okay, so thank you for the question. I will just respond and my colleagues, special deans, will complement. Yes, in our program there is the digital education, if I can say, because in the School of Education, we didn't go into the details, but we have the Department of Mathematics, Science and Physical Education. And in there, we have even a program in mathematics and computer science education. That is training teachers that will go and teach those skills in the basic education. And on top of that, because all students here are taking educational courses and pedagogy, we have even in the curriculum specialized module, integration of ICT in education. It is
everywhere.
Yes, everywhere. They learn it. And in every courses, in every module, we emphasize the integration because ICT is a cross-cutting. You know that in Rwanda, even ICT is not the only cross-cutting topic. We have about 8 environmental issues, peace, education, financial literacy. These are cross-cutting issues that are integrated, that every teacher, irrespective of what they are teaching, they have to integrate. So I don't know if...
Just to complement, maybe if Dr. Matthias, if he was here,
yeah, he's not.
You have been a perfect person to respond to your question. We have the center, we call it CODEL. CODEL is a center for opening, distance, and e-learning. It is a service center because it is serving the entire university, but it is under this college. So the function of this center is actually to make sure that it is to mainstream the digital education in our all programs. Yes, principal, he has responded in terms of curriculum design and what are the features of the program they put in education so that they're able to graduate students who have got also digital skills. But this CODEL, it goes beyond this mandate. It is in charge of actually even the training of our staff. Because we have e-learning, platform whereby we use, for the blended approach. Of course, we don't have any program which is fully fledged offered completely using online, but we are following the blended approach, where some of the modules are delivered online, yet others are delivered face-to-face. So this CODEL is actually in charge of training our lecturers how to develop digital materials, how to upload these materials on the e-learning platform, how to make it interactive, how to make materials construction alignment of the material. And all the staff of this center, actually they are under the leadership of the College of Education, but they are employed in different colleges and campuses of the University of Rwanda. So that is the center actually which has got a mandate of mainstreaming digital education within all the academic programs within the University of Rwanda.
So if we are developing the new digital learning content in the schools, are you developing in local language as well? That's most like English language content, or it is local in the local language for the schools?
Yeah, that is a very good question. So, as far as I know, we are using English as a medium of instruction. So, and those courses are in a formal curriculum. They are developed in English.
Maybe as a compliment, of course, we talk about
content development. Yes, that's very important area, right? For your next generation, you're developing the content. Content, that's the curriculum and the content. Curriculum is there, right? From the curriculum body is giving it, but the teachers have to deliver it, so they need content. So that content, is it the medium is English
It
or?
is English because English it's the sole media of instruction in Rwandan education at all levels. Of course, we still teach Kinyarwanda so many hours because our students they need to be proficient in Kinyarwanda. We still teach French, but for the education delivery, it is English which is the medium of instruction. So even the content, it has to be in English.
Yes, Professor.
For the training of the teachers, we regularly organize some training workshops, not only for the Rwandan teachers, but for regional teachers also, particularly the innovative teaching and learning methods. We have one CPD program, I think Rachel already mentioned. So already about 200 teachers have gone through the training, and just now about 600 teachers are going through the training. And in that we emphasize the integration of ICT, simulation experiments, and all those things which are related to the ICT.
Yes, I think we have responded to your question. The government of Rwanda is promoting ICT in all spheres. And for us who are implementing and who are responding to the needs, also we have to integrate it. Maybe if I can give another detail, is that any student at University of Rwanda, during their first year, they have a common module, Introduction to ICT, Communication and Technology. That's why where we check whether they come with some sufficient skills, those who have them, they can go deeper, and at least those who don't have, we help them to get the minimum required skills for them, for instance, to be successful learners at university. And since we know that we are training teachers and ICT technology, they are evolving over time, so we are much very aware of that. And whenever necessary, we have these continuous professional development courses. For instance, in the project that I have presented, quality basic education, we are digitizing the learning resources. So meaning that we have been, for instance, training teachers, especially developers, to digitalize. And now we are going to roll up the training so that the teacher can learn how to use those digital material. Of course, we are taking the lead with in-service teachers, but we are also thinking how we can integrate the same in pre-service teacher training so that we harmonize, and when they graduate, there is no need to get that training. Yeah.
Of course, principally now, the aspect to be emphasized is this access support. Dr.Papias had already mentioned this, because we teach literacy, literacy, we teach integration, advanced integration, pedagogical aspect, but there is this emphasis on kind of technical support to students and to teachers, because there was already a policy of digitizing all content.
What I would say from my knowledge from other, this is where you have World Bank money sitting there to support.
Yes, this is for
very specifically here. Yes,
particularly with COVID, there was already a policy, but now really as we are blending all our teaching, the teaching has become blended now. This technical support is more than ever needed. So it's really an investment.
Okay, so can we maybe be brief and pass to the next? I think these are a kind of open discussions as expected, but maybe I want to bring in an essential element to see how we can collaborate. So you've learned that we are a college which train teachers, both in service and pre-service. So how can we go in our partnership in running those programs? How can we partner in promoting postgraduate training and research? So maybe that's where we want to hear each other, one another, so that we can see whether we have common things that we can do together.
Thank you for having us here today for a visit of your campus. And on behalf of Kent State, thank you also for the hospitality in general of the University of Rwanda. This is our first visit, our first official visit. So what we want to accomplish in these few days is mostly to collect information, learn about each other, and try to identify areas or projects that could lead to a collaboration. As you might know, we already have an articulation agreement signed. It was signed in 2019, but we couldn't visit right away because of COVID. So there was this gap of 1 year. The first day we were here, we met with the Vice Chancellor and the Deputy Vice Chancellors in a general introductory meeting, and we will have another one, a debriefing meeting before we leave. In essence, what was discussed is how can we make University of Rwanda and Kent State University strategic partners? What does it mean? It means that we want to explore ways to be partners in many different areas and more in depth than a normal superficial agreement that implies just the exchange of a few students or just a few areas. So this is a very ambitious plan. It's a very ambitious plan, but both universities are committed in undertaking the effort of developing it. I know that there has already been some email exchange between the Office of the Dean of the College of Education. Well, I was copied, that's why I know, not because I have spies. There has been already an exchange, and so I think that some areas of collaboration were already indicated in those emails. I also would like to share with you that our main approach to this is that as we are here to learn, we want to hear from you where Kent State could help you. And then we will try to turn that into a way to make it mutually productive for both institutions. Only relationships that are mutually beneficial are destined to last, and this is our approach to this relationship with the University of Rwanda. I noticed one thing in the presentation. For instance, just giving you an idea. I noticed that you have a very high number of undergraduate students, but very few graduate students. The comparison is a little bit of an anomaly, let's call it like this. Can we help with that? I don't know. Kent State in the College of Education has plenty of graduate programs, and a lot of them are online, fully online. So we really need to study each other and understand where we are complementary with one another in trying to, help each other with our weaknesses somehow. So I am just bringing this message to you, and I don't expect that this first visit we will immediately find the magic wand and resolve all of our problems with the partnership, but I want to hear from you what you would like from us and where we can help you with your plans and strategies.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I can be the first to respond. Well, of course, as you have realized, there is a big gap and we need to bridge it. So a high number of undergraduate students and a small number of postgraduate students. Of course, as we try to bridge it, we have to look at the capacity, internal capacity that we have. Do we have, for instance, qualified staff who can support students in postgraduate? Maybe some of them need to develop. They need to acquire a higher degree. We still have staff who are holding a master's, and the required qualification is PhD. So we need to see how we can help each other so that at least that can be solved. We are also developing programs, and as you have heard, we care about benchmarking and see what others are giving to their students, and to see how, for instance, we can work together and harmonize our program so that we can train global citizens. That is very, very important. We know that we are involved in peace education, and you happen also to have a focus on peace. How can we also look at our program and support each other? We are running training programs, especially in service and pre-service. I guess in your School of Education you do more or less the same. Can we see the common point and the differences and work on them and improve?
Organically, all of this information and exchange it with your correspondent, Stephen Mitchell, the Associate Dean, and continue to copy me in that email. Dr. Mitchell and I meet regularly at Kent State, and so I think after a little bit of back and forth between the two sides, we would be able to decant to have something more specific solidify, and instead of going for 5, 6, 7 small little projects, I would try to find 1 or 2 that we can see are feasible, and then we can gradually expand into something broader and more ambitious. I kind of know by experience that after a conversation like this, if you don't initiate with something right away, then we evaporate. And there is not much left to do together. In terms of costs, you raised the issue of costs. This is always the barrier when I travel and I talk to universities around the world, because North American education is expensive. And it's an exception in the planet. Maybe the UK is close to that at this point, but it's really, and so we are aware of it. But for international students, or for at any level, undergraduate, graduate, and PhD students, we have in place a very good scholarship policy that will help very much your students to seek a degree at Kent State. So I don't want to get into the details of numbers now, because that is something for another circumstance. But I can put the entire picture of our scholarship methodology in an email and send it to you, and that will make you realize that besides the official costs, it becomes a lot more affordable. I think, to be very, very honest, because I don't want to promise the world, because we have to be realistic, your students would still need some support from the university, scholarships on your end as well. But if we are both willing to help, I think we can make it reachable for them. I will just give you one detail. The next September, actually this September, the Board of Trustees will discuss a proposal developed by the Office of Global Education that requires that all international students would pay the equivalent of in-state tuition, which means 50% of the cost of education. That's a substantial reduction. And politically, it's also a little bit of revolution, because we live in a Republican state, and so it's a little bit shaky ground. On top of that, the students will also receive scholarships. So we are talking about cutting it in half, and maybe again with some reduction. But the cost of living in America is higher, so I presume that we have to have a financial plan to help out the students.
Of Rwanda, which is called the Scholar Program, funded by MasterCard Foundation. It is going to prioritize to benefit women students, refugees, and students with disabilities, both local and international. And these are programs which cut across sciences, education, social sciences, arts, undergraduate, postgraduate, and should be beginning with this academic year. Now, one of the things I'm thinking about when we are meeting like this is how to collaborate in this scholar program, because it is being funded and the quality of service in the University of Rwanda has to improve, has to go beyond the confines of this university, has to be benchmarked even much further. So I'm also trying to think how we can collaborate. So my first question is, we are likely to reach out to you very soon with more questions on how to collaborate in this area with some of my colleagues. To the program with a few program leads. I'm leading in on disability and inclusion, and students and the refugees. My colleague is doing other things. So either all those are likely to reach out to all stakeholders, all partners of the University of Rwanda. So my question is, in case you want to reach out to the university, who do we collaborate with? If we have to visit your university for further discussions, who do we discuss with? Because if we have to reach that level, we shall have to come up with something concrete, something workable, something that can work beyond this program, this funded program, because this fund will come and eventually go, but the partnership should be able to establish something that goes beyond, will be for a long time. Yeah, that's my question. If anybody can be able to.
Yeah, the answer is very simple to both questions. Decided to visit Kent, and we will decide the date of the visit when we meet next week, I think, at the final debriefing meeting. I would recommend that he would travel with a delegation of key representatives of the university, so that while the two presidents are doing the shaking of the hands, the people who actually do the work can meet and work. So that's something that internally you have to decide. But for the arrangement of independent trips to Kent State, let's say the principal wants to come, or a dean wants to go to Kent, or needs to go to Kent, normally it's the Office of Global Education that arranges that. So I only had one business card, but I have more in my backpack in the office of the principal. I can distribute my business cards to you, and you can write directly to me, and then I will put you in touch with the right people for your trip to develop a meaningful itinerary. And also for questions about anything, Normally, it goes through OGE first because we know who is the person to direct you to. So, the easiest thing, instead of giving you 10 names of unknown people, you have seen me, you have seen my face, you write to me, and then I will make sure to introduce you to whoever is your best interlocutor at the university. Okay?
Okay, so if there is no other, so we can begin. I think you want to tell us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the goodwill to partner with us. It is an opportunity for us to grow from different perspectives. But I think one can see the possibility of mobility as the principal mentioned for training. But I'm curious to know what should be the procedural requirement in terms of partnerships, because there may be some inter-institutions possibility in terms of development of MOU. But for example, for someone to be accepted, to be received as a partner, do we have, for example, someone has a project, for example, a project in peace education, because I have an idea of a project in peace education. What should be the procedures for my project to be accepted, to be part of a certain partnership? Do I have to reach out to you individually? Do I have to pass through my institution? So those are the kind of procedures for project to be concretized. So if you can say something about procedural formalities or requirements.
Yeah, we don't need another agreement. The agreement that we have covers everything possible we can do together. So we really have already signed the document that allows the two universities to do together whatever they want. Okay? So another agreement is not a problem. If you have a project, normally research projects go through our research vice president's office. But it depends what you want to do with that project. You want to find somebody at Kent State with similar interests and work jointly at the project? Well, in which case it goes to the department, and the department then might invite you to Kent to work together collegially with that faculty. If the project is about funding, is yet another office that will help you connect with Kent State. So, my advice is the following. Before you connect directly with your counterpart, and normally projects go again through the Office of Global Education, and then based on what you need or want, we send you to one office or another. You have to discuss internally with your principal before, if he approves reaching out to us to try and seek for collaboration. But we don't need any agreement. If you have an interest or an ongoing project, just ask your principal, send us an email with the project, and we'll match you with either the right chair of the department, most likely is the chair of a department, or with the Office of Research, where the funding for research is located. And then, based on that, you start discussing with the right person. If that person has to come here, if you want to go there, if you want to share resources, if you want to apply with that same project for more grant money, etc.
I understand. Usually when you have a project, what you want to finalize the project in terms of design of the project, then you may discuss it for funding, but also for collaborative, because they need people who are specialists who can add the value to your project with the possibility of publishing together. So funding, but also...
It's like a marriage.
Yes.
It's like getting married to somebody. You have to find the right match.
Yes, sure.
If you find a professor at Kent State who is interested in that same project with you, we can have the marriage. But if nobody at Kent has research in that area, well, so that's why we have to go through the department.
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. I think we've got clarification and our discussion are fruitful. MOU is there, so it's up to us to make it happen, especially through different partnership, be it in teaching or in research. So thank you. The doors, I think, are open now for all our academics. So we shall make sure that we reach them and communicate that there are some opportunities for partnership. And of course, as you know, the University of Rwanda is there for us. And we shall try to reach you out. So there are many areas where we need each other, we need you to develop and to improve whatever we are doing here. So on our program, so I don't know if Marcello, you have just a final remark before we can give the...
Not really. I think this was the first conversation that we had. I'm pleased to meet with all of you. This is just the beginning, and it's critical that we continue to communicate. Technology will help, even if we are far away from each other. If we stop the line of communication, nothing happens. So I'm strongly encouraging you, as well as I will do with my colleagues at Kent State, to continue the conversation that was initiated. That's all I can do. And thank you again for, I think it's a holiday today, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you twice then, because we made you come to work during a holiday, and I didn't even know it. I learned about it this morning, so I apologize as well for this inconvenience.
It's okay, it's okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So the floor to the Dr. Papias to give the closing remark, and after we shall have a lunch just in the room next to this.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I will be brief because we kept our guests, very busy from the day one. They landed in Kigali, and at some point I have a feel that we are overwhelming them with the meetings. But first of all, I think it is to once again thank the delegation from the Kent State University for making time to come, not only meet with the senior leadership at the University of Rwanda, but actually taking deep interest to go visit our campuses, get to discuss with the colleagues, the managers at the college level, the campus level, and also the staff. This is tremendously adding value in terms of expanding the scope which has already been established within the signed MOU. What is there in MOU is very generic, but through this discussion I think it has been enriched. And I can tell my colleagues here that with the meetings which have been held so far, including other few meetings which will take place next week, the list in terms of area of interest is very, very, very low. But as we go along, and hopefully before they go back during the debriefing meeting, probably we shall be able to outline, just an outline, the few areas where we would like, this conversation to continue. Because there is a lot of consultations which need to happen even inside the University of Rwanda. There are a lot of consultations which need to happen at the site of the Kent State University before we can actually firm up the few projects which we need to advance. As far as this college is concerned, I think the presentation and also what we heard from the colleague there are a few areas again which shows the potential for collaboration. But I want to underscore one area which was strongly voiced at the meeting which we had with the ministers of education. We were privileged to meet with the Honorable Minister of Education along with the State Minister in charge of ICT and TVET. And it is in the area of the teacher training. Principal had already alluded to. We know that at the Kent State University, there are models which have been tested and proved to be successful, especially on the side of in-service teacher training, which has to do more, not necessarily on the competence of the subject matter, but to tackle the fundamental issues of mindset change in the cultural context. And that's why we want to run, to explore more, to partner what you did in other parts of the world, which proved to be successful. Probably we can continue discussing together to see, as a College of Education, what can we help the Minister of Education on the side of the in-service teacher training for the mindset change. I will just give an example. When you talk about digital education, it's not about what you teach or how you prepare your teachers. It's also preparing the big teaching population which is already there on the field to accept the wholeheartedly that the world today, it is demanding to use a different methodology of teaching, quite completely different from the way ourselves were prepared and were taught. So it's not just a matter of teaching them how to use the computers and software, but it is also the cultural change. And I think the Kent State University is also very good at that. So I wanted to re-echo the calling from the minister, and I think the exchange will continue. So that exchange, I would wish that also the leadership of the College of Education is brought into question. I totally agree with you, Provost, that this more of the moral exploration and facts-finding mission, but there is a lot of other conversation to do. We are not going to sign another MOU on top of existing agreement or MOU, but what would be needed, it is now to outline the operational framework for the few areas that shall be identified. And this operational framework will go into the nitty-gritty of the operational challenges and how do we go about the challenges. And of course, financing arrangement being one of it. When it comes to the research project, yes, we want to encourage one-on-one discussion between the faculty of the University of Rwanda and the faculty of the Kent State University, between the college and the counterparty dean. This one-on-one conversation, we encourage it. And of course, when they reach at a point where it can mature, then there are issues which we need to look at it. And there are policies at both sides which we need to look at it. For example, if we have won a joint, maybe a research grant, definitely we shall sign an agreement of how the collaboration between institutions will be undertaken in terms of managing that research grant. If it is a research output, the matter of, for example, the patent or the copyright. So these are the operational details which you cannot discuss now, but they will happen at a certain point when a particular project, seems to be reaching at a maturity level. But definitely, this conversation will continue, but we shall be able to narrow down the few things whereby we shall go into that length of outline and the detailed operation framework. Otherwise, I want to thank you once again. We are still together for a few days. We shall have another meeting, and probably Dean participated into the opening meeting with the Vice Chancellor, the principal, and I hope the principal will also participate into the wrap-up meetings. I want to thank the colleague for taking their time. This was supposed to be a public holiday, as you mentioned, but because of the value attaching to guests coming all the way from guests to visitors, taking all these number of days, that's why they also, wholeheartedly willing to, to sacrifice part of their, the personal time or the family time for this activity because it's very important. I thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.